Hello and welcome to the AD Bake Kitchen, and we are back again with Rob, who has already been on another episode of the Bake Kitchen. If you haven't watched that, I believe last time you were here, we picked your brains about ground bakes. That's correct. So there's one to watch. You haven't seen that, but we're back again trying to get some top tips on anything bake related. And this time we're taking a closer look at the Mainline Match luncheon meat range, because let's face it, meat has been used for so many years to great effect, but things are going a bit more advanced now, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, meat's been a popular bait, match fishing and all fishing, to be honest, for so many years. And yeah, Mainline brought a comprehensive range, haven't they, with lots of different colours and flavours for every eventuality.
Exactly. So I guess that's the first thing we should touch on is the fact that these meats that we've got here are already flavoured and coloured, so they're packed full of attractants.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you've got the plain sort of betaine one, which is, you know, if you want just a bog standard good quality meat, that's going to be brilliant. But you've got plenty of different ones from Activate to green halibut, which, you know,
all sorts,
all occasions.
Yeah. So again, trial and error with things like that. If you have got some normal meat and you haven't got the Mainline Match, there is some liquids and stuff that we can enhance with, but perhaps we'll have a little tip with those later. So you can already make this yourself if you haven't got the actual dedicated one, but if it's in a tin done for you, I would go for that one. So a couple of things then. So I think from my personal view on meat and the way people use it is the fact that they either just cut it up with a knife, put it in a cutter, and that's it. Luncheon meat is cubed meat.
And that's fine as well, isn't it?
That's fine, it works, but there's other things you can do, isn't there?
Exactly that, yeah. Probably one of the most popular ways to fish meat nowadays is in conjunction with pellets.
Yep.
So we've got some 8mm pellets here.
I've got some activated coarse pellets here, so yeah.
So yeah, they're a great pellet, activate flavour as well, obviously. So if you putting an 8mm pellet on the hook's obviously fine as well.
Yep.
But if you want to be a little bit different, and a lot of the time we do, a piece of like meat, maybe a 10 or 12mm bit of luncheon meat.
Yeah.
Different colours, like the Activate colour would be really good because that's a yellowy, sort of orangey colour.
Yeah.
Or you can go with the green, you know, just
mix it up.
Yeah, mix it up, because these carp have been caught so many times nowadays on a lot of these lakes that we want to be a little bit different. So yeah, if I just show you.
Yeah, so that's just, so this would be like fishing on a bomb, yeah? So you'd be, you know, catapulting 3 or 4 of these at a time, but you want a standout hook bait, so you're just punching it, simple as that, yeah?
I've got a 12mm punch here, and as you can see there, it's a lovely
just
sort
perfect hook bait
pellet-sized bit of meat, so the carp, you know, it'll fall any crafty carp and think, oh, that looks a bit like a pellet, but it's something a bit different.
You've got a few different ones there.
We've got a few in true Blue Peter style. We've got a few here we did earlier.
Yeah, nice.
A few different colours and different flavours, and you can just see, compared to any pellets, they're going to stand out lovely.
Exactly. And they're a little bit, actually, they're lighter, aren't they? So meat is, you know, it's almost creating a balanced bait naturally itself rather than pellet.
Exactly that, yeah. And if we,
I'll drop these in tanks so you can see what we mean. So if you've fed a few of these throughout the day, you know, you've got a scattering on the bottom of pellets.
Let me get one of a few colours.
And then you cast in your hook bait over the top.
You can see that one stands out really well. That orange as well. Yeah, I quite like that. See that one there? It's quite a nice balance flavour.
It does make a difference, doesn't it? So you can see there that basically, I mean, in seconds we've created a mini version of someone pinging all day, and then you've got some bright hook bait sitting over top. So
you can see how well they stand out.
Yeah, really well. So that would be number one. If you haven't done it before, punch meat, really good hook bait. So I know we touched on it. We'll get you got some props there, Peter. We touched on the most basic one that everyone does is cubing it. So nowadays there's loads of people fishing with cubes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the most common way, especially in match fishing, that you'll find people fishing with meat is with a meat cutter, essentially. So you get a tin's worth of cubed meat, and you can loose feed it and fish it on the hook, essentially. So if I just get the normal colour one.
No worries. So is there an argument? So I can remember, I'm going back a while now, I don't know if they still do, I think it was Hallcroft that fished actually, that it was really popular to fish meat shallow rather than pellets.
Yeah, meat shallow is such a good bait because it sinks that little
bit slower. Yeah, it's the oil content obviously. Yeah. And so don't neglect or don't think that this is just needs to be like big cubes fishing down the edge. This can be, well, you know, you've cubed that in with a proper cutter, you've cubed that in about less than a minute.
Literally seconds.
Seconds,
So yeah, we've got like a whole. Let me just put that down again.
No worries.
We've got a whole tin there of lots of uniform sized cubes. And that'd be perfect, like you say, fishing shallow, or anything like that, or fishing on the bottom with some meat. It's a good idea, just because it is quite a buoyant bait. I mean, it does sink, but it's a good idea to just cover it with water during a session, just so it doesn't dry out, and it would sink, like instead of you don't want to be chucking it in and seagulls and the wildlife eating it. So,
and that is, again, if you are pinging it for shallow, uniform size is very important, so a meat cutter does come into it.
And you can see the texture of the meat, it's quite a close texture, so it'll stay on the hook really well as well. So it's a top quality lunch meat, that is.
No worries. If you were, I know we've just picked the first one, if you were fishing shallow, let's say. Any particular one of these you'd pick as your favourite?
Quite a light colours are always good shallow fishing, like pellets as well. So a yellow one would be quite good. Maybe the green, not quite as much, because that's quite a darker
one, yeah.
So yeah, always a light coloured bait.
Light coloured
with
fishing,
shallow fishing. And yeah, maybe you could even feed the natural coloured ones and then put some yellow on.
See what happens.
There's
no worries.
no problem with that.
So that's sort of the conventional way. We can go a step further than that.
Yes.
And something you said to me, you've done a little bit before. You've actually blitzed and cut this up.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're fishing like shallow water for bigger carp in the edge, it's a good idea to, it's more about the particle numbers. So if you fed, say, if I've got like a dozen bits of meat in my hand like that, if you whiz that up in like a whizzer or a mince or something like that, that would turn into, say, 30 or 40 particles. So it just takes a fish a little bit longer to eat your bait, and it holds them in your peg there a little bit longer. So
I think we should probably show it if we can. If we've got a nice little device which is going to cut them up, and basically, so like you said, this is going to create a decent sort of cloud. You can fish it in the edge. You know, quite popular nowadays is cupping ground bait, isn't it? And
exactly that. Yeah.
You could use minced meat and stuff like that.
It's a similar sort of theory, isn't it? With just lots of particles.
Yeah.
You know, it's all well and good feeding sort of 10 or 15 bits of bait, but it's not going to hold fish in the bait very long.
You want to keep them there as long as you can, don't you?
This is just a Garbolino bait chopper. So if I just give that a quick whiz, you see the blades when they drop.
Nice. I need one of these in my life. This is
brilliant. You can see there's loads of smaller bits, and you've still got some pretty much whole cubes there, which are you can still put on the hook, say, but there's loads of little bits and pieces. In there.
So
again, put that in a little bit of water just to make sure it all sinks, because there'll be quite light particles.
And again, I guess if you were feeding this down the edge, you could perhaps add some 2 mil activated pellets with it.
Yeah, you could add some pellets. You can even add some syrup with it if you wanted to, just to make sure it sinks that little bit better.
I'll try and see if we can show in the tank a little bit slower sink for you. I'll pour it in for you.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I was
take the blade out. I don't want. So if you pass it over, and I'll just
pour it in this bowl.
In that bowl. Yep, that's fine. So just try and show the difference in fishing, how slow that sinks and how tiny some of those particles are. In fact, now you think that's a lot of different bait particles in there, isn't it? Keeping the fish in one go.
Yeah. So just that fish holding capability of that is going to be right up there.
You can really see the different, like we were saying, the balance in some of the meat there. Is lightness really good for that.
And like a slightly bigger bit on the hook, that's going to be a nice target bait.
A big chunk. I know these are, like you said, like we did. You can either cube a big chunk or one of those over the top again. Spot on, big hook bait.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, brilliant.
Nice. And I know you've got one more tip. Now this is the one that I personally like, that I've done as well myself in the past. So we're going to pretend now that we didn't have a flavoured meat. I mean, you can do it with a flavoured meat as well.
No problem.
But you got back onto these liquids and another product as well, so you've cubed your meat up, let's say, but you want to make it extra attractive. Make your boy next door to you, he's done the same. You've both got cubed meat. You've got something extra.
As well, like we said earlier, with you want your meat to sink, you don't want it to float. This works double. It makes your meat more attractive, and it's definitely going to sink every single time. So I'm just going to put a small amount in this tub like this, and I think we'll go with the Activate syrup. That's a really nice meaty smell in the first place. So we'll just drizzle a good amount of that on. Close it up. Like, you don't need a lot of these syrups at all. They really
I like. So this is definitely taking the way the like you said, some of it's slightly buoyant and you need to put water over it. This will take that way, won't it?
Maybe not as good for like fishing shallow, say, but fishing on the bottom when if you've got a few fish in your peg, this is definitely a nice thing. Just a little bit of the 100% pure crushed expander.
So this is basically going to stick to the liquid you've just put on. It's going to create a nice, actually dropping it through the water. So obviously some of this going to be popping off some expand the mix, and it's going to create and
that's a lovely little.
Yeah, it's really good, isn't it? I mean, the smell is just. I mean, just off that is twice as strong. You've got a little bit of ground bait popping off.
Brilliant meaty smell, and the added attraction of the ground bait as well. It's a winner.
Really good.
So should we chuck a bit of that in?
We'll chuck a bit of that in. So hopefully this is going to show the fact that a few bits of ground bait will pop off if it goes in, and it's going to give it extra attraction. So now you obviously, visual wise, you can see there's ground bait coming off. So you've got that going through the water column. The liquid's going to be stuck onto it, and it's just going to be a little bit more attractive.
Exactly. If you want to catch a few more than the chap sitting next to you, it's definitely not a bad way to go. No,
I like it. Well, I'm glad I wasn't the only one doing it, and you're doing it as well. It proves I wasn't crazy. And experiment with any of this stuff. There is no right and wrong answer in fishing. I think we all prove that. Very, very good. So lots you can do there with meat. Don't just think that meat is get out of the tin, cube it up, and that's done, because it really isn't the case.
There's way more to it.
So thank you very much for that. That's part one. Pleasure. But we've got actually Darren Cox is coming back for part two. And we're taking another little look at some slightly different ground baits, some newer ground baits in the Mainline Match range. So stay tuned for that. We'll clear this up, and Darren will be up next. Okay, so back for part 2, and Darren, thanks for coming back again. And now last time we were here, you were on pellet dew, weren't you? We've done all things pellets, but I wanted to split you now and speak to you something completely different and something I haven't seen in the mainline range. I think it's relatively new.
Yes, very new, hot for the press.
Good, good. But anyone, same as myself, who thought that Mainline is a mainly carp brand, dedicated to commercial, there's actually a couple of ground baits here now, or certainly one in particular, that contains no fish meal.
Yep.
And I know you're the perfect man for this, because you do a bit of this sort of natural lake fishing, bream, roach. So this is a dedicated ground bait for that, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. This is proactive. So, like you said, no fish meal content.
Yep.
And in certain venues, the fish are just not used to fish meal.
Not used to, yeah.
They'll get used to it eventually.
Yep.
If they've not had fish meal, chances are
just avoid it.
It's like you can completely blow your peg by putting fish meal in. When you're fishing for small roach and small skimmers or even on the river, fish like dace.
Yeah.
And, they don't want fish meal.
I think I've tried that before myself, actually. I thought I'll be inventive and I put a bit of a carp ground bait in a river and just caught nothing.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
yeah, I've done it myself.
So Mainline have come with this basically the proactive, which is it's a lovely fine mix.
Yeah.
Quite light. On big rivers you have to add a bit of soil and leans to it if you're in really heavy flows. But generally, lake work and canal work and slow rivers, it's great. Just
perfect. Yeah, and I guess you could use it lakes as well. Yeah, roach fishing, skimmer fishing, spot on.
Lots of seeds in it, lots of stuff that roach like, lots of active particles.
Yeah.
So you've got to be very careful when you're mixing it. So it's always difficult to mix perfect ground bait.
Okay.
But like I've said with pellets, like I always say with ground bait, you can put it in, but you can't take it out.
Exactly.
So you've just got to be
careful with it.
It.
No worries. So that's that particular one. Now I know we've got another one as well that we'll quickly chat about, and then we'll do a situation where. So this is also a new one, which is Sweet Marine. Now this obviously does contain fish meal. Yeah. So
I mean, I'm not supposed to say that.
Here we go. Exclusive.
This is genuinely my favourite ground bait. I've caught so many fish on this.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many bream and skimmers.
So what situation would you use this over the one we just talked about?
When fish are used to fish meal, or if you're fishing a commercial fishery somewhere like that, fishing for big bream, for carp, for skimmers, any fish that are used to
fish
pellets.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
If pellets are a good bait on a lake, even a river, anywhere, if it's a good bait,
this
stuff will work. This is full of really good stuff, oily, finely ground halibut.
Yeah. I was going to say, you actually said to me that this has got quite a lot of halibut actually in it, ground up in it.
This is a really, really posh mix. This is
nice,
highest quality halibut pellet you can get. It's really expensive, so you're getting a real lot for your money.
I like that. I've done some barbel fishing recently, so that'd probably be good for that, wouldn't it?
Good.
Like it. So then, and now we'll get you to mix these, but we'll do a situation where you want to blend the two.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, either is good for pole, either is good for feeder, as always. But with feeder fishing, you just got to be a little bit careful how you mix ground bait. So again, it's about adding the water as you need it, and not just going gung ho and thinking that.
So we'll get you to do that now, and then fire the situation. This is what I want you to use most of, so you don't want a lot of fish meal, but they've had a little introduction to some pellets, so you're going to add a little bit of that. So how would you mix it in that scenario that I've just gone to you? What would be your ratio, and how would you do it?
What I'd be looking to do basically is if I just want a scent of fish meal, I'll probably look at like 70 to 75%.
Okay, so quite heavily on that side.
Heavily on this side, and 25% of the fish meal. That's not all fish meal in there, but there's a lot.
There's a lot of fish meal in it.
So I would go like 75%. So normally I would measure it out, but
for the purpose of this, we'll do a guesswork.
Just what I'll do is put. I won't mix too much of it.
Yeah, just a little bit in there.
And literally alongside, so I can see what the measure is.
You can see the colour difference as well, can't you?
I mean, you can see this is such a rich mix.
Yeah, you can.
You can see there's a lot of halibut in there.
Like it.
There's about 25% there.
Now this is always a question I get asked: mix and ground bait up, dry to dry. So if you're mixing two ground baits together, mix them dry first.
Blend them together. Like you would a cake.
Yeah.
You put all the mixes,
all the dry ingredients.
You put all the mixes together, mix them all up. Then you add the water.
Like it.
So basically, mix it all up. You can see it's a lovely colour. Now, I'll just put one little twist in here.
Okay.
I've spoken quite a bit in the past about additives, and I love additives.
I'm the same.
Do think they work. I mean, you do a lot of different fishing. You can see it in
all sorts,
in lots of areas. But one of the things I love to do This is a nice natural colour.
Yep.
Yeah. It's got a lot of seeds in. There's a lot of goodness in there. If you want to really sweeten it up,
yep,
then you can add something like the yellow Scopex.
Scopex pineapple, yeah.
It'll colour it, but only just.
Right.
Or if you don't really want to do a lot to the colour, add the molasses. Molasses is known for breeding.
That's been a firm favourite everywhere, isn't it? Yeah.
That's a sticky molasses.
Yeah.
That will stiffen the mix up a little bit.
Okay.
So, you know, what you need to do is just play about with it.
Yeah. Find out how it's going to change it and stuff like that.
For bream fishing on the pole,
yeah,
you put some of that in and really sweeten it up.
That's the way.
It's killer.
Molasses has been used for ages, isn't it? So if you were going to add this, would you add to the water or would you add
to the water?
And then into your dry ingredients.
Yeah,
okay.
You can really. So
we'll go. You want it to fairly sweeten it up. You're going to use the pineapple and Scopex.
Literally just put
a little bit of that in there.
Yeah, a little bit. Stick the finger in.
Right. Yeah.
And then, literally, all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit in.
So actually, because I know it's yellow, but yellow is quite a subtle colour. This probably isn't actually going to change the colour that much, is it?
No, it'll just give it.
Just give it that sweetness that you're on about. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is for anyone. I know you've just said that Scopex pineapple is your favourite, but you do others in the range, don't you, that people can play around with and see what works in your venue?
Like red ground baits.
Yeah.
Sweet red ground baits.
God, that smells good.
Yeah, it's brilliant. But you can see it's just it's almost turned it just as slightly green. Which
it's nice.
Green's always a really good colour for most sort of still waters, for fisheries that have had pellets. You know, there's lots and lots of green used.
For someone like yourself, you've done this loads. It's quite important to mention to anyone doing ground bait, make sure you do this early, because this is going to perhaps draw in the moisture and you're going to need to re-wet it throughout your session. So
what is the saying, bacon? The proof's in the pudding.
Exactly, that's the one. Yeah.
You got to literally let it take the water in.
Yeah.
It's pointless adding more water right at this point.
It's gonna
because we don't know how it's basically reacting to the water we've put in. We need it to soak in 100%, and then it's all ready. And you can see there, it is starting to go tack up a little bit. But what I'll do.
So this is the age-old question. You're going to ask it yourself, but everyone I speak to, there's always a question: do you riddle your ground bait or not?
Absolutely.
And you are 100% in any situation, regardless of what it is, you're going to riddle your ground bait.
Yeah, I would advise people always to riddle a ground bait. It can't do any harm.
No.
I mean, we all use drills these days, and drills mix up ground bait fantastically well. But riddling it,
do you still riddle even if you drill it? Or is it just good enough with a drill that you won't need to?
There's some mixes that I know I don't need to riddle.
Yeah.
If I've drilled it.
Okay.
But a lot of mixes,
as a general rule, we'll put it out there for you, regardless, if you're going to mix ground bait up, get yourself a riddle, because you'll see on the top here, as Darren's doing it, all those lumps and particles there now, you don't want them in your mix, do you?
What that is that's basically stuff that hasn't taken water on.
Yeah.
Or it's big particles.
Okay.
So basically,
you just need to get them through.
A bit of a,
yeah.
And I wouldn't put those in.
You wouldn't put them in. So that's just, you take them out, and this is what you're trying to convey with.
You're left with a beautiful mix.
Nice and fine and fluffy as well, isn't it?
You know, it might need some more water.
Yeah.
So go through the process again. Just keep working it, but better to do it step by step
100%.
and not overdo it. You know, especially if you're fishing a feeder, for example.
Yeah.
I use this stuff on the feeder a lot. It's a fantastic ground bait for feeder fishing. When you feeder fishing, that's ground bait feeder fishing for, say, for bream or skimmers or whatever. You're adding lots of particles. You're adding chopworm. You're adding potentially pellets. You're adding stuff that's wet.
Yeah.
So if you go in with a wet mix and you put wet particles in, you destroy your mix.
Okay.
So I always have a big bag or a zipped bait bowl. I keep my dry mix to one side, and I add I have it like a mixing pot.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you.
It's where I make my
just constantly working it as well.
And just keep it going, adding more worms, adding particles, pellets, anything.
Like it.
You get that mix.
No, very, very good. And that is a good insight into a couple of ground baits there that relatively new, but I'm sure are going to be quite popular in the scene, aren't they? So again, Darren, thank you very much. I don't care if you've got ground bait certified. It's been good to pick your brains again. Thank you very much. And always, we need a competition. So what I will do is Darren talked a little bit there about when he would use the no fish meal ground bait, what situations would he use it in. So if you can relay that over in the comments, and then we'll put a little bundle prize together for you and we'll get a winner selected. So get yourself using these, they're going to be popular, and hopefully more fish on the bank.